Texas Tech football is just 3 weeks away, and in today's video, I will give my game-by-game predictions for all 12 of Texas Tech's regular season games. But before we do that, and I give my predictions, I want to hear from you guys. Let me know, how many games do you think Texas Tech football will win in 2023? Again, I guess it could be 0 to 12. I know there's a lot of high expectations right now in the 806 and in Red Raider Nation. Let me know how many games you have Texas Tech winning in 2023. All right, as I mentioned in today's video, I will give my game-by-game predictions for the Red Raiders in 2023, all the way from game one up in Laramie, Wyoming, to that Black Friday game out in Austin, in a game that I think could have serious repercussions in terms of the potential for a Big 12 title appearance, not only for Texas, but also for the Red Raiders. We'll also discuss a potential trap game that I think could happen for Texas Tech late in the year. But if you haven't already, be sure to like the video if you want more Texas Tech football videos here on the channel. Right now, the plan is for about 3 a week. Maybe we can get it up to 4. I need to know if y'all want to have some more Texas Tech football videos. Simply do that by liking the video. All right, let's jump into it, as we're going to start off in Laramie, Wyoming. Okay, a place that Texas Tech has never played before. It's going to be very interesting. If you listen to Joey McGuire, they're going to travel up a day early, much like they will later in the season against BYU, to get used to the altitude, right? And this is a big home game for Wyoming. Simple and plain. It is what it is. This is a top 25 team, more than likely, in Texas Tech, coming up to Laramie, Wyoming to face off against the Cowboys. That place is going to be absolutely rocking. That being said, I think Texas Tech handles business, but this game might be a little closer than people expect. I think Texas Tech wins this one 35-20 and moves on to the Oregon game, still in the top 25. And now this is where things get interesting, right? Because this is the biggest home game at the Jones in at least a decade, if not longer, when it comes to non-con, at least in 15 plus years, right? You got Tyler Shuck against Bo Nix. Bo Nix, a Heisman candidate. Tyler Shuck, a dark horse Heisman candidate for some people out there. Tyler Shuck in the narrative of going up against the school he transferred from, the school that really didn't want him because of the other options they had, right? This is a game to watch on the line of scrimmage, in my opinion. Whichever team dictates the line of scrimmage, I think will win this game. And I think Texas Tech has a very good chance of doing that. I think there's going to be a chip on their shoulder to prove to a national audience that they can compete at the highest level with the veterans on this team that they have. I think this is going to be a last possession type game, and I think Tyler Shuck is going to have the football in his hands and lead the Red Raiders to a win. I've got Texas Tech winning 37-33 at night at the Jones. Let me know, though. You agree with me? Do you think Texas Tech will beat Oregon? Y for yes, N for no. Total transparency, I've changed my opinion on this game because of what's been going down, specifically on the Texas Tech offensive line. I think it's going to be vastly improved this year. But I want to hear from you guys. Will Texas Tech beat Oregon in week 2? Y for yes or N for no? We move on to Tarleton. You can see at the bottom of the screen, I give that a W. I think that one's pretty straightforward. I think that's a game that Texas Tech can get some run for those younger guys in as they move into conference play and they head out to Morgantown for week 4. And that's where we'll go. Again, Texas Tech 3-0 against West Virginia, who I expect to be at best 1-2, considering they play Penn State and Pitt in their non-con. Absolutely brutal for the Mountaineers when it comes to their non-con schedule. If this is a morning game, my confidence goes down just a little bit just because of the fact that you're going to the East Coast. You lose an hour. But I think West Virginia is the worst team in the Big 12. And that's not trying to be disrespectful. I just don't see it. And I think Texas Tech is going to handle business pretty easily in this one. And I think the Red Raiders move to 4-0 and win 33-17 out in Morgantown. All right, the Red Raiders head back home for Big 12 game number 1. At the Jones, and it is the return of Donovan Smith, the presumptive QB1 for the Houston Cougars. And Tech is simply the better team if Tyler Shuck is healthy, right? Like, there's no chance this game goes to overtime if that happens, in my opinion, right? I think when you look at everything, the Cougar secondary is going to have trouble with these Texas Tech wide receivers. And this year, the game just doesn't go to overtime. I've got Tech handling business pretty easily in this one, 41-21. And here we go. 5-0, headed to Waco. This is one of the more interesting games of the year, in my opinion, for Texas Tech. Because when it comes down to it, it's tough to play in Waco. People can make fun of the, river being right there, the fake bricks looking like a toilet seat, whatever it is. Dave Aranda's team plays really well at home. It's that simple, right? So if you're gonna have to play a perfect game damn near to beat the Baylor Bears in Waco, right? And I think Texas Tech is a good team, but when it comes down to it, I think this game goes down to the wire, and I think Texas Tech loses this one and moves to 5-1, headed back home to play the K-State Wildcats and the defending Big 12 champions. All right, so Game 7, you're 5-1, against Kansas State. It's homecoming for the Red Raiders, right? A game with some Big 12 title potential in terms of the regular season one, in my opinion. I think the Red Raiders show up big at home. If this game was in Manhattan, I'd have not very much confidence. But I think the Red Raiders win this one in a homecoming game, kind of get a little bit of revenge for last year. Remember what happened the homecoming game, the Baylor game. Don't have to remind you all of that when Patrick Mahomes went to the Ring of Honor. But I think Texas Tech gets a little bit of revenge for what happened last year in Manhattan, a little bit of revenge for what happened last year for their homecoming matchup, and they win 31-27. All right, let's move on here, because I think this is a game, this next one at BYU, that is super interesting to me for a lot of standpoints, okay? And let's kind of lay the groundwork here. This is the trap game I'm talking about. This is the trap game that I think you could really get caught looking ahead. And it's not going to be easy playing in Provo either. In the simple fact that the next game on the docket for you is TCU. And I want to give these guys credit. I think the coaching staff is going to have them ready, but there's just a basic human element that, hey, TCU, kind of your rival in all of this, is coming in to Texas Tech next week, and you got to go out to a place that you haven't played before in Provo. It's going to be a raucous environment, elevation. There's a lot to it. It kind of just feels like a trap game to me. And with that being said, I think BYU pulls off the upset here and beats Texas Tech 34-30. I think it's going to be one of those games where Texas Tech scores late, gets back in it, but they just don't have enough time and they run out of time to win the game out there. So they go back home. They will be 6-2 against TCU. And did someone say a bounce back game? Because I'm telling you right now, I think this is where Texas Tech bounces back on a Thursday night and they assert their dominance against the Horned Frogs. This is going to be a nationally televised game. Texas Tech will remember what happened last year in Fort Worth. I truly believe that. Again, if y'all remember, they were up against the top 10 team in the country. Some things didn't go their way in terms of quarterback play, in terms of, injuries and everything like that. Not to mention the Tyree Wilson bad call against Max Duggan. A lot of things happened, right? Doesn't matter. It's in the past now. But I think Texas Tech rights their wrongs out in the 806 on Thursday night in primetime, and they beat the Horned Frogs 38-30 to move to 7-2 ahead of a trip to Lawrence, Kansas. I told you, here comes a mini run. All right, this is where I think a mini run comes in for the Red Raiders late in the season. I think the Red Raiders hit a bit of a stride against TCU. They start clicking a little bit. They go up to Lawrence, and they face one of the arguably most important players in the Big 12 in Jalen Daniels. Not even arguably. He is the most important player in the Big 12 to his respective team. Simple and plain. That's what Jalen Daniels is, right? But I think Tim DeRuyter's defense can contain Jalen Daniels. I think Steve Linton, Miles Cole on the outside, Josiah Pierre. You got Jacob Rodriguez at the linebacker spot, Isaac Smith, and obviously the two tanks in the middle there, and Jalen Hutchins and Tony Bradford when it comes to the defensive line. I think Texas Tech continues this roll a little bit, and they send a win back to the 806, and they are 8-2 headed into their game against the Golden Knights in the first time that UCF will travel out to the 806. Listen, this is another potential trap game, but I don't think it happens. Texas Tech got caught with one in terms of a trap game looking forward earlier this year out in Provo. I don't think it happens at home because, again, you got to remember, next game of the year, that's on Black Friday against Texas, and I think it's going to have a ton of Big 12 title implications in terms of going to play in Arlington, okay? It's not going to happen this time in terms of a trap game. Joey McGuire and crew know what's on the line potentially next week in Austin. And I think Texas Tech comes out and contains John Reese Plumlee and gets the W. I got the Red Raiders winning big in this one. I think UCF scores a late touchdown, and I think Texas Tech wins 45-31. Listen, the stage is now set, right? This is what it comes down to. A win for the Red Raiders, and they play for the Big 12 title game. And if they don't win, they probably need a little help to get to Arlington. They go into this game, last game of the year, at Texas, 9-2. I think Texas is in the same stage. I think they have identical records going in, or just a game apart, right? Like, there is a lot on the line. And truthfully, this kind of feels like a coin flip game to me, if I'm being totally honest. And that's not trying to be disrespectful to Texas. It's more of a, hey, this is the preseason when we're making this video. I need to see him do something, right? This game is going to be nationally televised. It's an ABC game on Black Friday. And I feel a lot more confident if this game was in the 806, but it's not. It's in Austin. With that being said, the game, as I just mentioned, is in Austin. And it makes me lean the Longhorns in a close one. And I think that when I say a close one, I'm talking like 34-31, 34-32, something like that. I'm talking like a late field goal wins this one. And that's the direction I'm going to go. I think the Longhorns do win this one. I think they win it 34-31, and Texas Tech ends up going 9-3 on the year, 6-3 in the Big 12. I want to hear from you guys, though. Do you agree or disagree with my record prediction? Let me know down in the comments. I'm sure there will be some people upset about that UT prediction, but I'm just trying to keep it real with you guys, as I always try to do on this channel. But let me know down in the comments below. And once again, how many games do you think Texas Tech will win in 2023? I think it's going to be on the higher range, probably in that 8-9 range if you ask me. I obviously just picked 9, but I want to hear you guys' opinion before you head out. And if you haven't already, be sure to hit that subscribe button to stay in the know on Texas Tech football all year long. We'll give you the latest breaking news, rumors. We'll also have some fun video ideas like this. Shoot us a video idea down in the comments, and hey, who knows? Maybe we'll make one here before the season starts. I am RC Maxfield reminding you, if you want to stay in the know on the latest when it comes to Texas Tech football, hit that subscribe button to stay in the know right here on the Back to 12 podcast channel.